What's her name? Do we know her name? I think I wrote it down. Here we go. No, that's the HR director.
Somebody heard us.
I don't know.
That way you have
I don't think so.
Awesome.
Pure sugar.
Beautiful. I got it in an email.
Yeah.
Right.
makes it healthy.
Yeah.
There's so many things to carry.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, you ready, Henry? Okay, we're going to get started. Board of Finance regular meeting and budget public hearings for Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. And tonight we will hear from various departments for the RTM Administrative Committee, Rules and Ordinances, and Public Services. Before we get started, just going to provide a quick overview of the budget requests. Total requests, Town and Board of Ed at this time is $150,250,274, or an increase of $8,791, or a 6.2% increase in expenditures. With revenues and fund balance, the net to be raised from taxation is an estimated $128,077,000, or an increase of $9.8 million and raised from taxes. That's based on a grand list of $5,767 million, which is up 2%, or $116 million. And that equates with these proposals to a mill rate of 22.7, or a 1.3 increase in the mill rate. So the Board of Finance had public hearings last night, tonight, and Thursday night. We will then conduct a budget workshop on the 6th of April, and at that time recommend a budget to the RTM. They will have their committee meetings and deliberations and vote on a expenditure budget on the 12th of May and return it to us. We will meet again on the 15th of May and the 18th of May and adopt any revenue changes that the Board of Finance determines and adopt the mill rate. So that's the plan, that's the agenda for tonight. We will start off with probate court on page 21. Welcome, Judge.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank the Board of Finance for providing me the opportunity to present the budget for the probate court for the fiscal year 2026 and 2027. You can see that the only area that we're seeking an increase in the amount of $1,000 relates to online services, and that includes our microfilming, our Wi-Fi, our network services, maintenance of our computers, and the software we use in connection with the state. And I think there was a feeling that we underestimated last year, and that's why we're seeking that $1,000 increase.
Okay. So the total request is $19,350, increase of $1,000. Are there questions from the board? Question. Al, you good? Okay. Again, Al Bertolone is a Board of Finance member who's accessing the meeting remotely. Questions from RTM members and members of the audience on the probate budget? All set?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Good luck.
Thank you. Next is information technology, page 29. Welcome, Scott.
Good evening.
Overall, the budget is not a huge increase this year. Obviously, one of the line items that always increases every year is our repairs and maintenance, which is all of our annual maintenance contracts, subscriptions, software, things of that nature. That always goes up every year. Typically, vendors now are going 8% a year or more. But one of the things that we did this year, and we're going to continue, is replacing some of our intercommunication lines. And so you'll see in the communications budget, we're offsetting some of that increase by saving about $8,000 in the next fiscal year, just switching vendors, basically, with our connections between the buildings. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so the request is $1,443,521, an increase of $22,829, with an increase in purchase of services for $26,017. Questions from the board?
It's 8:59.
859, oh, thank you. Questions from the board? Okay, so as far as, we have cyber insurance, correct? And so, that we purchase, and do they do vulnerability testing or any types of testing for the system, or do you do that?
We do that.
Do that internally?
They don't do that. We do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're constantly monitoring the system. Obviously, in a public meeting, I'm not going to speak to exactly what we do, but we have several levels of cybersecurity in place. We did get audited last year just by the military department at the state of Connecticut, and we got pretty high marks, so
Okay.
I think we're doing okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Questions from the RTM members of the audience? John?
Thank you. So I'm looking at the actuals for 2024, 2025, and on purchase services, and it seems that in 2 years we're going up 200,000, about 30%. I've noticed this in other line items as well. Seems like a lot. Is there anything specific you can point to that says why it is that the purchase services are going up so quickly?
Yeah, because last year we put in two new products, OpenGov. They're quite expensive. Together, it's about $150,000 a year for that subscription. That got added to the budget last year, and so that obviously is increasing this year. So that's a big part of that increase.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So OpenGov, that covers the building department?
Yeah, it's the permits and public works, fleet maintenance, and asset management. Yeah,
Okay.
it's two different products.
Okay. Thanks, John. Other questions from the audience? I think you're all set, Scott.
Okay, thank you.
Next is assessor, page 15. Welcome, Paula.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi. I have a slight decrease in my budget, which is probably unusual, but I think we finally worked out how, and we've talked about this during the transfer, that we've had a vacant position for a property data collector, and we don't really need another person in that description of a job. So we've moved those funds into part-time, in which we have a commercial assessor, which actually is really good because it increases our commercial assessments, which,
Yeah, you could. Sure.
which is, I mean, our goal is always to increase assessments fairly. And so if we're able to do that by having more knowledge of what's out there and being able to analyze it better.
Sure. So your request is for $534,308, a decrease of $8,959. So a couple questions.
Sure.
The audits. The audits are you still conducting the audits? You do, yes. Okay.
Yes, we
30,000.
do.
And those are productive?
Yes, yes. We do audits in two ways. One is we've tried to put them with personal property, with large corporations, we've tried to do it up front with them. Say, listen, we don't want you to audit you.
Right.
We want you to know how to do this.
Got it.
And walking them through the whole process, spending a lot of time. So there's that part, and now we're doing the second half now, the going back 3 years and looking at what they've done. But it's actually, it makes life easier and better if we get them on the beginning.
Sure. Okay, and then there's times during the reval when you're not able to get into a residential a residential home.
Yes.
So you really don't know what improvements might have been made over that since the last time somebody was in there.
Right.
How do you compensate for any of that?
Well, I mean, people are supposed to take out building permits if they make changes.
Right.
Some of them don't, we know that.
Right.
But we try to do everything we possibly can. We are very active now in doing all the sales listings. If a house is for sale, we look at it, there they tell you the best about the house.
Right.
And so that makes it.
Finished basement.
Right, yeah, we have a finished attic. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one of the things. It is one of those things that it really, I think, once COVID hit.
Right.
And it was like, okay, well, nobody can get in because nobody's going in anybody's house.
Sure.
I think that it really made people say, we're not letting anyone in. And it's
Time to build. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some people who have, who've called recently and said, you have something wrong. And we say, well, we have to come in. And they let us in.
Yeah.
They get it. We're not trying to,
Just trying to do your
cruel.
job.
We're just trying to do our job.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Paula. Questions from the board? Okay. Questions from RTM members? Frank? Frank Turo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Frank Toohill, 1st District RTM representative. Paula, I just have one question. I see that there's a expense, $3,000. What's that for? It's listed for new equipment.
Well, we never had equipment as a line item. We used to take it out of office supplies. And we were told by the finance director that you had to have an equipment line item for equipment. Okay. And equipment we've bought is things like cameras and tape measures and things like that. That's equipment, not office supplies. Okay?
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
That explains it.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Paul. Other questions? Okay, I think you're good. And we'll
Board of Assessment
move on
Appeals?
to page 16, Board of Assessment Appeals. Request is for $15,740, increase of $385.
Yeah, it's just basically the
clerk.
Yeah.
Clerk and supplies. Yeah,
Yeah.
clerk and part-time salaries of
Yep.
$385. Questions from the board?
Nope.
Questions from the audience, RTM members? Okay, you're good. Thank you. Next up, Human Services, page 43, with details on page 69. Welcome.
Hi, Al.
How are you, Peter?
Hi, Joe. Members.
So budget request of $2,280,856, increase of $183,035, with a transfer in of $1,301,856 from taxation, which is a $8,000 increase. Peter and
Pam.
Pam?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Pam Davies. She's my Assistant Director and Clinical Director.
Welcome, Pam.
Probably one of the biggest areas of change is the salaries. and a lot has happened over this past year. Currently have 2 case managers. One was hired recently in September, and she works here at the senior center, and she works specifically, well, part of it, with the elderly people that come here. That kind of supports what we're doing in social services. Also in the senior center, there's a caseworker, and the caseworker is a person that's been working with the elderly people in regards to their energy assistance, rental assistance, things that the state offers. In discussion with Dale, the first selectman, finance people, HR, and the union, we decided to move that position to the counseling center, be part of the social services programs that we offer there.
That's from the senior center?
From the senior center.
Gotcha.
Should be moving over to us. With that, we had to give her a raise, and we had to follow, that was in line with the union, so that her salary was increased. What we did with this position, we created a new job description, so she's going to be a social service administrative assistant. So she's be working not only with the case managers, but also with the other staff that's part of the social services. And all this was approved by, of course, the people above me.
Gotcha.
The other increase was the other case manager. What we found is that we began a lot of calls because this past winter was just horrific. And people were calling us for a lot of different things that we don't normally look at. Furnace repairs, water pipes that are bursting, and a lot of the stuff that was happening were in the mobile homes. So what we needed to do is go out there and actually go and investigate when people are calling us, because some of the stuff that they were asking for was very expensive. So now I got this case manager also going out there when the call comes in to verify what the concerns are and what the damage is and what we're able to do, if possibly we can do. So his work has increased as long as the other work that he was doing. So we needed to bump him up because of the extra work that was going on with that.
And this is all done with the First Selectman's Office and HR?
HR approval, finance approval, first selectman. Everybody approved this because we had to explain to them what we were doing.
Right.
The other position that we have in our office, this person is, look at her as the operational manager of the whole program. Without this person, there's a lot of things that we really can't do in there, or stay on top of things. She's responsible for the QA. She's responsible for the HIPAA regulations. She's, when the DPH comes and gives us an inspection for our license, she's the one that sits down with this person and lays everything out, because she's created the operations policies and the procedural manuals. She does the EHR oversight, which is the electronic health records. She does the billing systems. She's, the new stuff that she's going to be doing in September, looking at more financial stuff that the agency does. So she'd be responsible for that. She oversees the office management. We have an office manager, but she oversees that person there. Any requests for files from outside, she's the one that takes that information, puts it together, and she's also our grievance officer. So she covers the whole operational part of the agency, which is very important and something that we need to do. The other request we put in there for is a substance abuse clinician. Now, this is the money that's coming in from the Fund 203. This is the opioid settlement money that the feds negotiated, or they had where they sued Parma. I forget the name of the
Was it?
Purdue.
Settlement.
Purdue Pharma.
Exactly.
So this money came in to the town, and I think we've had it there for at least a year or so, Catherine, I think, right? Or two?
Longer than that.
All right, a couple years. From that, and I guess the state's been asking, what are you doing with that money? And so what we decided to do is look at a substance abuse clinician. The person's not going to really do any substance abuse therapy, but what they're going to do is, as a police social worker does, when a person in the community is picked up because they were abusing some drugs, opioids, or whatever, and the EMTs get involved or the police get involved, this person's going to run like an interference. So if the person goes to the hospital, this person is going to do the follow-up, try to engage that person, and try to get him into longer-term treatment. After the treatment is done, and then we'll work with them and see what the aftercare is going to be working on. So if we have one person, instead of having our police social worker do that because she's busy doing other things, that we have this one particular person. And what this position does, because there's certain guidelines that the state wanted us to do, and we are following the guidelines. So there'll be intervention, there'll be education. Hopefully, we can do some programs with the school system. We can do some here in the with the seniors. Or hopefully this is going to be something that's going to bring a little bit more continuity in addressing the substance abuse.
So on that, we're bringing in $75,000. What's the fund in that, for that one?
So far to date, we've received almost $280,000 since 2023.
Okay, so this is the first expenditure of that?
This is the first expenditure of it.
So is that something that continues, or is that it?
I believe it's a 10-year settlement.
Okay.
I'm not sure, it's just that the,
So we'll get periodic
you get periodic
revenues.
payments, but they're not set periodic
Right,
payments. So it ranges every time you get.
Right, so this position is basically covered by that
Yes.
fund until, as long as the fund continues. And so far, you've got at least a couple $100,000
For a couple of years' worth, yeah.
Several years
I think
from
the
now.
intention was to kind of phase that in so that his budget will
Absor-
incorporate it.
Right, okay, and that's okay, got it.
That'll be a new position, yeah, so they'll be working,
So you're transferring one in, and you're adding two.
yes.
Got it.
And the last one is another clinician that we're working with. I think Pam can explain what her responsibility is then.
So that is essentially what we're considering like a senior clinical advisor and child teen lead. So this person has expertise in the treatment of children, which we treat many of the kids here in town. She is essentially acting as the backup clinical director when I'm not there, but she's also running supervision, dealing with any reports that have to go to DCF, coordinating with schools and outside providers, and just providing supervision around any child cases.
Thanks, Pam.
The other change is in the other purchase services. This is where we hire our contractors or providers that provide medications for our clients. How that change happened is that last year we had one person that was responsible for prescribing medications to a lot of our clients, and unfortunately, she had an incident in her private practice that she had to leave. So we had to cover that to make sure that our people were getting the medications that they needed, and we were able to do that. But what we decided is to split that and have two people working, so they're actually two APRNs. So if something happens to one, we have somebody else that's going to be there that's going to be able to at least provide the medications that we needed. So that was the change in that area there. And the second part, which was purchase services, that's because things have increased with the electronic health records. They're looking for a little bit more money. Plus, they're also doing the evaluations for us when people, not the evaluations, what's that called again? We have to credential people. And so it's, instead of us trying to do that, we contract them to do it. We don't have to do a lot, but at least we're paying them to do that. And they're also doing the billing piece of it, so they're collecting the money for us. We also had to add for our social services, it's called Charity Tracker. The name doesn't make any sense, but what it does, it captures any information that we get regarding the social services that we provide the people. So we can capture it into some electronic form, and it's a form that can give us data that, how many people that we served in the course of the time and whatnot. So this is kind of what we get monthly if we choose. So it's going to tell us what we spend the money on and the demographics of the people. So we added that into the system there, which instead of using paper, the Excel sheet, we're using something here that all the case managers can add into it and we can run the reports on. The other increase was for the basic needs. Basic needs, I asked for $7,000 more because this year we got slammed. And we got slammed because of the winter. And what we've learned from that is that the mobile homes that we've had here for so many years, I guess it's 50 years, if not more, they're beginning to fall apart. And the requests that we're getting are from the people that own the mobile home. Not the ones that they rent on the site, but the mobile home that the person owns. And a lot of people that own these homes, their income is around $1,500.
Peter, why don't you bring the mic up a little tighter? Yeah. So, are you folks hearing in the back? You're okay? Okay.
Okay, so I'll go. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
You could sing away.
I can yell a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay. So we had to spend a lot of money, and a lot of it has to do with the furnaces are breaking down, and we had to make some tough choices. Do we, first of all, repair these units for the people? And a lot of them are elderly, a lot of them are on disability. So we had to do a bunch of furnaces, we had to do some water pipes that were frozen because they were put outside, we had to do some structure repairs because the floors were breaking through. And we've never experienced that before. And I think because of the weather that we had this year, we're seeing a lot of this stuff happening now. And I think it's, my concern about is that as time goes on, and Josh and I have talked about this, we have to address these in some way. Otherwise, we're going to be spending a lot of money to keep these people safe. And a lot of them are elderly people. And again, they're disabled too. When you make $1,500 a month, it's going to be hard to do the repairs. And there again, we go out there, take a look. Is this something we can do? There are some that we really can't help because the expenses are too much. So it's kind of gone into our basic needs money. And we made these choices so people can at least be safe.
Right.
Especially when the...
And that's based on like economic criteria or...
Yeah, we
other
take
criteria that
right,
you use.
so we take a look at, they have to pay a fee for the lot fee, and then they have to pay the utilities, and we help them with that too. And then when it comes to the structure itself, it's like, okay, what do we do? It's a tough choice, but we make these choices based on who's in there, and are they going to be really compromised if we don't do anything to help them?
Okay. Questions from the board? Fran?
Yes, really quickly. The two positions, the two clinician positions, the salaries and wages are included in the higher number on your expense report, correct?
Yes.
They're full-timers?
Yes.
So they'll qualify for the full benefits of the town?
Yes.
And those costs are under the benefits section of your budget, is that correct?
Yes.
And the goal is to have this forever, not to eliminate these positions when either funding disappears or you want to have these positions for...
Right, the one that's funded through the outside money, the opioid money. Okay,
Correct.
That's just one.
Which is just the one, and
Yes.
the advisor for children, is that just
Is a current employee now.
is a current
It's a
employee?
current employee.
I apologize. Okay, I didn't get that.
No, we didn't hire somebody, we just elevated her.
Gotcha.
And Fran, on page 88, you could, in the back, there's the breakdown of human services with the titles and associated salaries.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The last one I should mention is our police social worker. We've increased her salary because she, and you can talk to police, I mean, she's just amazing what she does with the police. They've learned a lot from her. She's learned a lot from them. But other areas, her salary was not competitive with the other departments, and she's a licensed clinical social worker. She does have the ability to, as we call it, paper somebody, but she can't do that here. She works with the police in doing that. And when we looked at other departments, we're thinking other people that are doing this don't have the same expertise or credentials that she has, and we want to make sure that we're going to keep her with us. So we adjusted that to meet what the other departments in the area are doing.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
Just one other. On the new clinician, the new substance abuse person, was there any consideration or thought that that could be an outsourced type position where the town doesn't incur all the salary and the benefit part of it? Or that's not something that's outsourceable, if you will?
Well, I think the problem with that is that it's going to cost more money, I think.
It will, okay.
Right, because now we're paying the salary of the person plus the whatever the other agency is going to be getting. I think it's better to have somebody that works for us, because then we're going to be giving them what our process is and procedures. And $75,000 is really not a lot. So we're hoping that we can get somebody, then as time goes on, that we can look at increasing that salary based on what she's going to be doing or he's going to be doing during the course of the time with us.
Okay, thank you.
With regards to the fees and services, it looks like you had actual of 715 for 24-25, but you're estimating 550,000 for next year?
Yeah, Joe, I think it's difficult with that because, it's based on what we bill and based on when we're going to get it. And it doesn't work like that, and I think you know that. So if we're going to bill Medicare today, we're not going to see that payment until maybe 3 or 4 months from now. And so everything that's coming in is always something that we've done before. We kind of base it on a couple things. We base it on what the performances of the clinician and also how much is being billed. Then again, and that's why we have this company, that they go there and fight for bringing the extra money in, because if we don't cross the T or dot an I, it gets rejected, and then we have to go back and try and get that money. So that's what we're hoping for. And I think if we have a perfect storm, where people are going to show up, and people are not going to be canceling for whatever reason, then I think we can do pretty well.
Okay.
But based on the number of people that we have,
that's your estimate?
That's our estimate, yeah.
Okay. And Fred, that's an example of the outsourcing is on the billing side.
Okay.
They utilize their expertise to chase the claims down with the providers.
Thank you.
Questions from?
And do we know where we are percentage-wise so far this year?
In regards to?
On the fees and services? Like, we're 3/4 of the year?
I think we're around 450,000 right now.
Okay.
So hopefully
So
that...
we might have more than the 550.
We might. There again, if something doesn't get in some kind of log jam someplace. There again, it's based on what we're estimating that we're going to be getting based on what we're billing out there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Sure. Any other questions from the board? Josh?
I just want to comment real quickly on a couple of these increases. In the case of the case manager, for example, with the 6% increase, we put that individual in some tough positions and ask him to do some tough things. We had the fire, if you all recall, we had the fire on one of the fires, and there was a homeless person, a person that ended up without a place to live as a result of that fire. And I was dealing with that on a Sunday, and I could have called that case manager, and that case manager would have taken over that situation. And then subsequently, for the next 5 days, in a tough situation, really help that person not only get into a place to live, but help them navigate through their home to recover items. And these are tough situations we're asking this person to do. And always that person, I've never seen that person turn down that tough situation. So that's what we're hoping. This is a valuable asset for us for those situations, and we need to be thankful for that. So that's that. And then I just want to really comment on the emergency response social worker and that increase. As I understand it, that person may have been approached to, I don't want to use the word poached from us, but I will. And again, beyond valuable. Like there's no amount of money that I mean, clearly there's an amount of money. You see it in the book there. But invaluable. It's something that, you know, I wasn't on the RTM when this position came into a reality, but I'm so proud of being a member of a community that has this. And the work she does, I mean, the chief could tell stories about it. And again, you know, even though there's a dollar amount, that's all, you know. So I just want to champion both those things.
Thank you. Thank you.
But she has been approached.
Yeah.
Yes, she has. I mean, no, she really has, and she was offered a lot of money.
Sure.
And she turned it down because she has a dedication to working with us here, and she's got a great relationship with the cops. And they all respect her, and she respects them, so it's good to keep her.
Okay. Other questions from the RTM members or members of the audience? Okay. I think we're good.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, next up is tax collector. Page 17. Welcome, Robert.
Good evening, everyone. All right, so wages and salaries, a slight increase of $25.09 for 0.9. Overtime, no change in that. Consulting services, we've decreased that to 0. Moving on to tax bill processing and printing, slight increase of that of $1,783. Purchase services, no change on that at $650. Online services, no change on that at $44.50. Postage, we had a decrease of $21.54, so that is a $43.806. So you can see the bulk of the budget is really made up of processing and postage of tax bills. Resident stickers, no change on that, $37.50. Advertising and printing, a slight increase of just about 10% of $309. Office supplies, we had an increase of that of $1,645. It's a 43% increase of the overall budget, overall line item, I should say. We've ordered additional paper and boxes for storage of tax bills that we have to keep by the state. Our state testing fees, $350, so no change on that. Memberships and conferences, slight increase of that of $2,376. We added a conference this year that we didn't go to last year or the year prior to that, which is the Northeastern Tax Collectors Conference. So there's some mileage in there because it's out of state. And then we have tax refunds. So that is an increase of $175,000 or $450 over the $275 from last year. Any questions on it, any of that?
Bob, why don't you hit the tax refunds?
Yeah, so the tax refunds, again, is made up of a number of things. So as the assessor was here earlier and presented her budget, she gets to put the number on the asset. And then I may come to you and say, well, I don't believe that that is the number of the value of my home. So there's a process that they go through. They could go to Superior Court, or we could move forward and negotiate that with our attorney. And then whatever the delta is that they come up with becomes a refund. So again, we had an increase in values of last year, averages about 66% overall. So therefore, we had a lot of people come to the Board of Assessment Appeals. Along with that, we pay car taxes once a year, right? So you pay that on July 1. So you're paying for the full year. Folks may have sold their car, traded it in between that, so now there's a refund due on that. Same with the leasing. The leasing is really out of hand when it comes to refunds, because the same process happens. And our taxpayer calls us, we cannot refund it to the taxpayer. It has to go back to the leasing company, and the leasing company takes their time on doing that. So basically, that's really why this number has expanded. And knowing, again, because of reval, that we may have a larger number coming to us being settled, we've decided to increase that from the 275 to the 450. We looked at a little higher number, but in my conversations with Jim, we brought it back down to the 450.
Just for a little more information on the appeals, those are handled by the Assessor's Board of Appeals, right? Is that what
The appeals, yes, by the Board of Assessment Appeals.
So they go to the Board of Assessment Appeals, and that's that's not the town council, but it's a delegate of the.
Separate.
Right,
Separate
but it's authorized by the town council to represent us at the Board of Appeals.
Right.
Okay. And so then they usually go to court, or they usually settle?
Either or. So it's a combination of both. So if the Board of Assessment Appeals denies, then the next step would go to the Superior Court.
Okay. And how many of those go to court?
I would say you probably have, I know of right now, probably a dozen or so.
And how many appeals did you receive after reval?
They had, I think, about 300.
Point of information, so you're aware, a large percentage of them do get settled through that process.
Right.
Board of Selectmen will, every meeting will be presented a group of them, and we will, vote to accept the recommendation from our council or not. I think we usually do. I haven't seen us not yet.
Okay.
And then it's settled through that mediation process.
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
So what happens, as I said, there's 300 that come in for appeals, and again, it goes through that process. So then one has to figure out whether the $1,700 decrease that I'm looking for is worth the $3,000 attorney fee.
Got it. Okay. Questions from the board on the budget? Fran?
Attorney fees go to this expense category?
No.
Where do they go?
They have a separate line item for that.
Wait,
fees.
2 presentations, you'll hear it.
Two more, thank you. Okay.
Just of a point of letting you know where we are collection-wise, to date, we're about 98.65. In tax collections and sewer collections is about 97.16. So outstanding in real estate, we're about 98.99 with about $1.1 million to go. So we'll probably settle around 500,000, hopefully, on that. So.
And where are we on the refunds so far this year?
As the process comes into our office, so it goes to the assessor first and then comes over to us.
What's the dollar amount so far?
Oh, the dollar amount, I don't have. Catherine, do you have?
So as of, let's see, it's March, as of February, we're at around $63,000.
It's a lot less.
But they'll come in by the end of the
There's
year.
about
We'll get it
100.
settled down.
There's about 100 more appeals still in the works.
But fiscal year, they probably all get dumped in May or June.
So there's about 100 more appeals going through.
All right, so we could check
Catherine
in with
indicated.
them. Okay, other questions on this budget? Questions from RTM members? John?
Just a quick one. Can we assume that the tax refunds are sort of cyclical, and that having just had the
Reval.
that it'll go back down again in future?
Yeah, I would think so, John.
I'd say that's fair, John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is usually the big bump up and
Yeah, makes sense.
might be neighborhood specific, but, okay, other questions? If not, Josh? Yes.
Capital.
Capital?
Yep.
Got it.
So over the last couple of years, as you know, we've been looking at rehabbing the tax office. So again, we put it in for this year for $98,000.
Now, does that,
Page 87.
87?
In section 4.
87, section 4, thanks. Okay. The other 87. Section 4. Okay, so it's just, you're reconfiguring?
Yes. So right now, if you come into the tax office, you'll see that from a security perspective, it isn't, it's an issue. Again, we're in a public hearing here, so I'm being very careful of how I approach this. So we would look at the counter space, redoing that counter space and putting some barriers up for there, and looking at replacing the furniture that is in there and the vault services.
Okay, questions on this capital request? And you have some design?
Yeah, we should have some finished up on Friday coming into us, so we'll
All right, so you're
have some
working with
numbers
Josh on
together.
that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the audience on the capital request for tax office? All set, Bob.
Thank you.
Next is executive. Josh?
Can I stay over here?
Yes, you can.
So the executive, we have a decrease, but like we talked about last night, a big driver of that decrease is we have eliminated some seasonal and part-time help that came through the executive branch. Is now some of it will be in planning and zoning's budget, and then the economic development person will be in that budget. The increases to regular wages and salaries, it shows a 7.5% increase. Part of that is the change that was made in November, because my salary was increased based on the old selectman's salary. So now you're going to see that for a full year in that budget, that increase. So that's why that becomes that. And then the executive assistant would just get the regular 2.75% increase to that salary. I requested a slush fund. I was denied by Catherine. And so the rest is all, small increases.
Okay, so it's requested $352,461, a decrease at $30,220. Thanks, Josh. Is there any questions?
Oh, I apologize. I want to bring this up. If you'll notice, there's a new line item, the Community Forest Commission.
Right.
We've made that for $2,000 for, they want to do a program with a tree giveaway. I have a sheet on that.
Sure.
The original request from the Forestry Commission was much higher. We just thought, as a new program, we'll start off small and perhaps go larger with everyone's permission. But we're looking at printed materials 500, a native tree purchase, and then giveaway 500, public outreach, which would involve speakers, venues, 500, and then they will be hopefully attending some conferences, which with annual fees for those kind of activities, 500. So that's the 2,000 for that.
Okay. And that'd be managed out of your office?
Yes.
Okay. Questions from the board? Questions from RTM members of the public? Sir, you could come up.
Representative Papalizio, 6th District. Mr. Brooks, the line item we just discussed, the $2,000, is going to be managed out of your personal?
Yeah, it'll come out of my budget. So any
oversight?
yes, any request for spending would come through my office, and I would have the oversight on that. Yes.
Okay, but yourself only as an oversight committee?
Yes. I mean, Catherine oversees what I do. So, yeah, myself and Catherine would be the oversight, and then the Forest Commission themselves. The Forest Commission would, when they meet publicly, would discuss what they would spend, which is a public meeting, and then they would vote on it as well, and then they would come to my office for approval of that spending.
So there will be an outside agency to
Yeah, it's not an individual. It's a commission that the town has, the Forest Commission.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks, Josh. We'll move on to, next is legal services, page 19. Total request $452,400, increase of $2,400.
So there's no change in this, except for we have added, as you may or may not be aware, the people of the public, we added the Fair Rent Commission, which would involve a clerk for those meetings. So that's a $2,400 for the clerk services. But the counsel and legal advice, we kept flat at $270,000. And then tax appeals, that's where that money comes in. We also kept flat at $150,000. So I do anticipate, while if you look at what actually was actual in 2024-25, it was much smaller. I anticipated being higher than 71,000 from that year because of the appeals process, but we don't anticipate being more than, I think we anticipate 150,000 being enough.
Catherine, could you remind us the difference between what gets charged to the tax department for refunds? Is that the current year, and the appeals are for prior years, or how does it work?
So the tax refund account is for those appeal settlements or refunds of prior year grand lists that have been paid. So if there was still a receivable on the books, those reduce the receivable. If it's a current year grand list, that reduces current year revenue. So it's only charged to that account when it is a prior year, which is why it's generally all for appeal settlements.
Okay. Got it. Questions on this legal budget?
Yes.
Go ahead, Harry.
Both Josh and Catherine, can we get a breakdown on the counsel and legal advice? It's over $250,000. It's 270, it was 373 last year.
When you say you want to break down by,
well,
for me to send you a
let me
year-to-date budget.
explain it further. You receive an invoice from whom?
Well, there's a couple different legal counsels, but for the most part, things are filtered through, I'm never going to pronounce this right, Saltzman, Brennan, Saltzman.
Saltzman and Wallman.
I'm close enough. So there are general legal counsel, and then they form out depending on the case, the attorney that they send it to, and then you can pick it up.
So, for example, we have our quote-unquote town attorney, but there are cases that come before us, all sorts of different types of cases. But in the in the counsel and legal services, there's also the sometimes we get into lawsuits, for example, and that our town attorney may not be best suited for said lawsuit, so he would then contract a different attorney. So, I mean, if we recall, we just had a pretty public case, and the town got an outside firm to represent us in that case because they were that was they were stronger in to represent the town in that type of a case. So the town council, and not obviously I wasn't the selectman that authorized it, but the town council would then come to the selectman and say, you know, to represent us in this case, we're going to use this firm, and then I would authorize that. But for the most part, there's a lot of land use issues that our town attorney gets involved with, as well as presently we have a thing through the RTM where there's a road that R&O is looking into to make a public road. So the town attorney will do the deed, will look at it legally from our aspect, not do the zoning part of it, but the legal part of it, as well as if we have, the RTM creates an ordinance, the town attorney will look at that. But
what is Brenner, Walton's, Salzman's duties? That's a firm.
Yeah.
It was mentioned. And
But
the town council is...
Our town council is presently Bill Anaskovich, who was for the past, I believe, 12 years. Is that the question?
And he works for that company.
And he works for Brenner, Stalzman, and the other one.
So technically, they're the firm for the general counsel. William Anaskovich is the general counsel for the town.
Seems to be a bit of a conflict. So I think I'm asking again. I don't know about my other directors here, but I'd like to see at least a category breakdown in the amount we're spending on the various legal issues.
I mean, we can generate that.
Yeah,
I don't have that tonight, but I can generate that and get that to you without question.
Yeah, because what I would be looking at is, what are we paying town council for? What are we paying Brenner, Waltzman, and Saltzman?
Well,
because there's got to be
when our town council
subcontract. So I'm just concerned that we're not getting too many subcontract fees.
I understand what you're saying. I get that now. So I will work that up for you, and I will get it to this body.
I think
they could give it to the board. Give it to the board. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions from the board on the legal budget? Questions from RTM members of the public with regards to the legal budget request for $452,400. Okay, we'll move on to legislative on page 11. And Josh, you're presenting that again as well?
So again, a modest increase in the part-time elected officials that are basically on the RTM, the stipend they receive, but then we also added $3,000 to advertising, printing, and binding, and that's based on what we are spending currently. As you know, there are rules that follow state statute on notifying the public of a public meeting. And unfortunately, there are times, as I like to call it, creative legislation that happens, and we have to go to the, rather than just go to the sound for timing purposes, we have to advertise through the New Haven Register, and that's a much larger expense. And as it turns out, as of right now, at some point, we're going to have to come to you all to transfer, because I believe we're over budget right now because of those things that are happening. So rather than trying to do that again in future years, we'll just budget it $3,000 higher.
Okay. Total request is $23,687, increase of $33,255. Thanks, Josh. Questions from the board? Questions? Questions from the board? Questions from our TM members or members of the audience? Okay, thank you, Josh. Next up is Town Clerk, page 18.
Hi, so I'm going to present you this budget because we actually presently don't have a town clerk. We have 2 acting town clerks. So the budget is a nominal increase, and we are working diligently to find a new permanent town clerk. We will be starting that interviewing process shortly, because it's an important thing to get done. But other than that, no real changes.
Request is for $303,007, increase of $2,571. Is there other questions from the board on this budget?
Just real quick, Josh, do we know what revenue the town clerk's office has brought in so far this year?
So I don't know where they are as far as how much revenue, but there are fees that they charge for certain things like a dog license. There are fees that involve the records, and then there's land, I want to say conveyance, but that may be the wrong word. But those fees go through the clerk's office, and some of them can be rather large.
Real estate conveyance fees, as of now, are around $465,000. Let's see.
On page 8, the revenue estimates are on the bottom of page 8.
Oh, thank you.
It shows we budgeted $500,000 for, that's what they're including as an estimate for next year, and real estate conveyance fees, and other monies are $210,000. Some other smaller items, dog licenses at $4,000. Where's our dog warden? So, again, maybe we can get an update on that, but that's the listing of the revenue side of it. Okay. Other questions from the board on the town clerks? Just like to comment that thank Trista for stepping in as clerk for the Board of Finance, which is a responsibility of the town clerk. So thank you for all you're doing. Questions from RTM members on the town clerk budget? Members of the audience? Okay, thank you. Move on. Next budget is going to be Zoning Board of Appeals. No, I'm sorry, Planning, Conservation, and Development. Conservation, Planning, Conservation, and Development.
Cal Wackers is on Zoom to present this budget.
There he is. Okay. Zooming.
As well as Jamie Fredericks is here in person.
Hi.
Good evening.
Welcome. And your name again is?
Jamie Frederick.
Oh, Jamie, yes, sure. Hello, Mikhail.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me zoom in. So this year's budget, as you can see, is really a combination of 2 departments. So the first, Planning, Conservation, and Development Department.
Page 23.
So a lot of the staff changes resulted in the changes you see in the salary line item. So that is driven by a number of factors. First and foremost, just the merging of departments and creating a deputy position. Also, we are brought in the blight officer into this department, so that's a new position that was not there before. But it was really just a transfer from one budget to another. We also are proposing a new position as a partnership between economic development and planning to help focus on the town center and support a number of projects that are occurring from the train station, the post office, to Newbrook. And these are all big projects that really need capacity to do them. And then, so the other outline items, as you can see, there's a decrease in the part-time seasonal budget. So that decrease reflects that economic development position, partnership, and then it's not fully offsetting that position because that's where the blight officer came into that line item as well. For the rest, all the other items that you can see is really just focusing on the needs and capacity of the department, really helping to shift our focus away from solely doing applications to really being more project-based, and doing a lot of planning that sort of had been not attended to the standard I think Branford deserved. We're focusing on 8 different initiatives. Jamie Frederick is leading a number of those, including coastal management review and open space initiatives. And we're also focusing on housing, economic development, and more proactive code enforcement. I'll also add one of the changes from a personnel aspect was our zoning enforcement officer is now a zoning wetlands and enforcement officer. It's really taking the duties of previously 2 positions and making sure that they're coordinated under one position. We're happy to answer any questions.
So in this, you'll have 7 positions, and you're from 4, so you're bringing in 2 as a transfer and adding 1.
So yeah, planning and zoning had 3 positions, a town planner, assistant town planner, and an administrator, and the zoning enforcement officer. So 4 combined with the 2 positions over in inland wetlands. So for 6, and then we're adding in
one
blight officer as well as this part-time, or the new economic development position. Total of 8.
Why am I showing 7 on page 79?
Because one's part-time, the blight officer's part-time, and it's listing the full-time position.
Okay, that's in the seasonal and part-time?
Correct. There would be 7
item?
full-time, 1 part-time.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, questions on the HR side? You want to move to the non-personnel, Mikhail?
Certainly. Let me just pull it up.
And Tony, I need to ask you something.
Where's that coming from?
Who's that?
That's on.
This was clearly a question adults asked direction of all social services, other authorities, Tony, financial board.
Do we know what's going on here?
I said, Chris, I can take care of myself. But Eric spent enough time on this using age, recognize the signs of someone.
I'll go tell Henry he's got a problem.
I'm hearing someone.
Yeah, so
We all are. I think we're watching a movie.
Everything yelled. And he doesn't wear a self-reliant attitude.
Al, can you try muting yourself?
Eric said, I want to make you know.
Coming from Al.
Hey, Al.
Al, can you mute?
Al, can you mute yourself?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Okay, Mikhail.
Yeah, thank you. David, could you run through the numbers, get the budget in front of you? My screen's really small on this phone.
Sure. So regarding non-personnel, uniform clothing allowance, that is a carryover from inland wetlands and water courses budget. That's for like safety equipment out in the field for the zoning/wetland enforcement officer.
Sorry, we can't hear.
Yeah, mic it up a little bit there.
Is that better?
Okay, thanks, Jamie.
So I was just saying uniform and clothing allowances is a carryover from inland wetlands and natural resources. Consulting services, we have a bit of an increase in line with what McKeel was saying earlier regarding trying to increase some planning projects. Professional development, it's showing a 115% increase. However, if you look at the budget on page 26 for inland wetlands and natural resources, you'll see that folding in that budget, there's a 0% increase. Advertising, printing, and binding, similarly, there's a 15% increase after you fold in the inland wetlands budget. Costs have gone up in advertising costs. Office supplies, there's a 5% increase when you consider the inland wetland budget.
Okay.
And then equipment's also a carryover from inland wetlands. Travel increases, accounting for 3 staff members that might attend the Southern New England American Planning Association conference. And travel's a 0% increase.
Thanks, Jamie. Okay, so the total request for the budget is $664,575, increase of $226,417. Questions from the board on any of the budget? Questions from RTM members or members of the public? Okay, we're all set, Mikhail. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And thanks, Jamie,
Thank you,
for stepping in. Okay. Next up is Zoning Board of Appeals, page 24. You got that, Josh?
I'll present this budget. It's just a nominal increase again for the increase for the clerk at 2.7. So the overall increase is a 1.2% increase.
Total request is $11,689, increase of $140. Are there questions from the board? Questions from the board? Questions from RTM members? Members of the public? Okay, move on. Next is engineering, page 42. Welcome, John.
Okay, so on 42, it'll be easier to explain the wages further back in the book, so maybe we'll just hit the stuff that's not wages, if you're on that page. Accrued payroll is going up. With the seasonal and part-time help, we have that as an increase to get us to $20 an hour for part-time. It's usually a summer intern.
What page are you on there?
42.
42?
Yep.
Oh, 42, yeah, I got you.
Yep.
Okay.
So the seasonal part-time help will go up. Again, raising that, I believe we were at about $17.50 up to $20 an hour. So that's a paid internship that we take on normally in the summer, sometimes in winter break, but kind of help us out and give them a little bit of experience in the field. So we're lowering the office supplies a little bit since we moved over to East Industrial Road. We're not sharing essentially as much paper with the building department. We would normally split our paper orders, so I figure let's cut that down just a little bit, so make up for that. Salaries, regular wages and salaries is probably easier to explain if you go back to section 5 of the book, page 87. So the easy one to explain, I think you heard it last night, was the one of the admins moving out of engineering into the building department. So that would be the administrative assistant, that top line. So that would be budgeted within the building department. Community development admin assistant, that one would remain with the engineering department. So we would have one admin, building would have one admin. They'd still be in the same roles supporting all of land use department. It would just be whose budget and who their direct supervisor would be within those two positions. The big changes, so I normally don't have to explain my operating quite as much, but we do have some shifts. We've got a new position that we are looking to create. That would be the capital projects coordinator, that bottom position. So as this board is well aware that we do a lot of capital projects through the engineering department. Since 2022, we've gotten $23 million in grants. Obviously, we have a local match to that as well. In addition to that, we take on some other kind of capital technical projects that we help administer. So Indian Neck Firehouse comes to mind, Blackstone Library, the police station currently. The engineering department really administers those projects through budgeting, running through change orders, kind of that kind of function, that role. So that ties up a lot of our resources, running through those projects, as well as some that are just coming online, like Main Street, East Industrial. We've got Stony Creek Wharf. We've got a lot going on. So we could really use some help. Right now, it's been myself and the assistant town engineer running these projects. We have a vacant position in the current fiscal year, which is the design engineer, civil design engineer, that would typically be managing their own designed projects, since they're familiar with the design and the project itself. But even when we were fully staffed, I mean, typically we wouldn't see the assistant town engineer taking on capital project management. That wasn't really what the position was for. But we saw some spillover into that position over these years. So again, we're seeing the finance start to ramp up. The financing start to ramp up, where we're seeing the dollars catch up to the projects. So we really see a need for this capital projects manager position. And it's not just, again, not for engineering, would help out with DPW projects. The fire up at the transfer station is a capital project management project that currently the assistant town engineer has been managing to try to pull together all the different departments, their needs, and the subcontractors to kind of move these projects along. So this position, if approved, would really take on more of almost a town-wide capital project management role. So that's the first one. The second one, the assistant town engineer, as it exists today, we would change that job description to more closely match the design engineer job description. With that comes an increase in the salary. That position's been vacant for about 6 months now. It's just not the salary that it's currently at. The design engineer's salary that's listed is not competitive with what your typical between 0 to 4 years out of school, what they're seeing out in the private sector. So we're not competitive, even with you kind of consider a municipal discount, I'll call it. We're public servants, so we're not going to match what you can find out in the private sector, but we're not close. So that would, the design engineer, you look at the civil design engineer, that's actually coming off the books as a position, really a title. And the assistant town engineer is really a new job description under that title.
And that would be a PE?
That's a EIT. So
What's EIT?
So EIT is an engineering training. That's the first test you take right out of college.
Right.
So you're required to have a degree in civil engineering. You take that first 8-hour exam, gets you the engineering tech and training. You work 4 years underneath a professional engineer, and then you're eligible to take the PE test.
So is there any requirement to have a PE as an assistant engineer, the way you've spec'd it out?
This would be an EIT would be required, so that first test.
So how many PEs do you have now? Just yourself?
Just myself, yep.
And you think that's appropriate?
Yeah, for what we do, yep. Yeah, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. I can talk about it now. In the operating budget, we still have some consulting services dollars, and that's for projects that we're just not qualified to design. So anything structural, anything coastal, those are specific disciplines within civil engineering that we're not, within the department, we're not qualified to do that yet. And then lastly, we would be creating a new position of field tech engineer. That would be really almost what the assistant town engineer right now, what the job description looks like, removing some of the heavier responsibilities. This is more of the person that we're sending out to do inspections on sewer installations, checking trenches before they're backfilled, inspecting temporary and permanent patches, helping DPW with, inspecting and making sure that their contractors are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then a lot of our smaller, we can call them capital, but smaller like sidewalk projects that we need somebody out there to keep an eye on the contractors, make sure we're getting what we're paying for.
Would that be an EIT?
That doesn't require a degree, nope.
Why do you call it engineer?
It's a way to kind of bait the talent, because it's somebody who's going to be more or less in an engineering role. Yeah.
Okay.
So try to sum it up. We're one of the administrative assistants is moving to the building department. The capital projects coordinator is a new position. My position remains the same. Assistant town engineer really is the design engineer job description. And then a new position with the field tech engineer. So we'll be gaining one position.
Got it. Okay.
If I could add to this, this came about through my my request, and mainly because so much of what we do as a town, we put on the shoulders of the engineering department. And we need another engineer desperately. And the engineering department has answered the bell every time. But I think moving forward, if you actually break down what the engineering department has brought into this community, to date, right now, in grants, I believe it's a little over $20 million. So beefing up the engineering department, the only downside is we'll bring in more money and have more work to do. I mean, that's how I view it, and so to me, it's a desperate need, and this is a path forward through a lot of discussion that I think will be beneficial to us in many different ways.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, so that's your personnel side. And non-personnel is pretty straightforward, a reduction of $200. So you have a total request of $573,828. Questions from John on the budget? Good. Good. Sir?
Sorry, not quickly. Kevin Healy, 7th District RTM. Just to follow up on what you were saying, Josh. Why doesn't the town then have grant writers for all departments to work with that? Do we? Am I missing on that?
We do not have grant writers, but I thought I could only get away with so many positions in one budget. No, that's right. But no, we don't. A lot of the grants that are available to us seem to be. Well, a lot of are involve infrastructure. So infrastructure grants have to go through engineering. As far as other grants, the department heads will seek those out as they see that work for their departments. So occasionally I'll get an email, there's a grant available, so we then forward that to the appropriate department head for said grant, and then let that department head move that forward.
And they'd be more adept at getting more funds because they're within the department than a professional grant writer themselves. That could be for East Shore Health District to all the different departments that go for grants right now.
At this time, that's the practice that the town goes with. It is something that has had discussions with not just myself, but other folk, and perhaps that is an avenue we want to pursue, but as of now, it usually goes through the department heads. You use East Shore Health as a perfect example.
Just as long as we're not leaving anything on the table.
I don't disagree with your sentiment, but right now, that's how the process that we move forward with.
And some of the larger dollars that would come from the state or the feds, really, they may, funnel through the engineering or the selectman's office, but they're, with regards to school support, or, we're looking for money for the buses, that sort of thing, which are, either the governor's office or our representatives in Washington that really are going to bring a substantial dollar. So that's really, and a lot of times you'll coordinate with the first selectman's office or engineering or the other relative department in order to get the information that they need. So the other smaller grants are helpful for counseling center or wherever, but so a lot of the departments will handle those in particular. Sure.
John, do you still have, my understanding is you had somebody on your staff who really was a crack grant writer. Do we still have that person, or is this one of the people who cycled out?
No, so yeah, we had a design engineer a couple ago. One design engineer didn't work out for us, but the one prior to that was writing some grants for us. I've written a bunch of grants for the department, so it's really been an in-house grant writing. We've been fairly successful, I would say. It's really the more competitive, like Joe said, the federal grants, where it's a national competitive grant. And a lot of, in Connecticut, you're talking Bridgeport, New Haven that are getting those grants for things that we'd be looking for, like resiliency efforts and things like that. So they're very difficult. Maybe, if there were a consultant, maybe that we could hire out to try to write grants like that for us. But again, it's not, we're not looking for the $20 to $50 million projects that the feds are really looking for. So they're difficult to get.
Okay. Any other questions on the operating budget? Do you have any capital, John, or?
Joe.
Excuse me.
Someone in the back.
Oh, sir?
Yeah. What exactly is the role of the capital projects coordinator? Are you reviewing other engineers' plans from multiple of these projects that are taking place across town? Because a lot of these projects have linked professional engineers designing everything. So is it plan review? Is it direct oversight? We're paying for a lot of high-profile construction management operations to bring forth good plans that are being reviewed in the department. So just what exactly is that position for?
Yep, so yeah, you're right. We do have like the Main Street reconstruction project. I look at you, but I can't do both at the same time. No. So the Main Street reconstruction plan, the East Industrial Road reconstruction, both of those require full-time inspection services based on the funding sources. So this position would not really be in that role. It's just too labor intensive. We would have to focus on that solely for an entire year. So this position is more for really town design projects or design build projects where we have a project in mind, we hire a contractor to come up with the plan. It's not like engineered, so to speak. And then this position would be there to oversee the construction, oversee the budgeting, invoices, things like that. And it's not, whereas Main Street and East Industrial are like a full year of construction, these projects bounce around a lot based on the current needs of the town. So, I mentioned the transfer station, fire, recovery, that's one of them. The move to the DPW facility, and hopefully a future move to a new facility. Those kind of things that have a lot of moving parts and not necessarily a full-time, hired engineer for that work. This position would be able to oversee that, as well as some of the plan review, making sure that, constructability, things like that. So, and that things go in the right sequence, that, if town forces are working on something, that all those efforts are coordinated so that we can get to a successful end of the project.
Okay. Other questions? All righty.
So I do have some capital. Again, in my eyes, it's lean because we do have so much going on. It's on page 72.
72?
Yep.
72. Section 4, page 38.
Engineering, okay. Let's see. Resiliency Phase 3. Preliminary design.
So we have that's the water pollution control facility. Right now we're in phase 2 through a grant with Connecticut Sea Grant. They're looking at more conceptual designs to more or less fortify the treatment plant against flooding now and in the future.
We have that as other. We're contemplating what for that? Is that coming out of Jim's fund or some other source?
Is that what we call it? I like that.
I was going to say it too. But yeah, the contemplation was to take it from the Coastal Resiliency
So on
Fund.
page 75, it shows us the source of funding potentially for that.
Is other, right. So
Other
if you look at
would-
page 38, it gives more of a one-page description of the capitals
Okay.
that he's requesting. It does come under the category of other, meaning another funding source.
Gotcha, other than taxation.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, I see that. And then you have,
So just to finish the thoughts,
Sure, go ahead.
phase 3 is more of the preliminary engineering that would get us to a good cost estimate where we can then go and look for grants for final engineering construction.
where do you see the timing of that? What out years do you see work being done on that plant?
I mean, you're looking probably at least 5 years out between engineering, funding, and permitting. There's a lot of permits that will go along with that, so.
2030, 2031 before you...
Yeah, I would think that would be.
Okay.
It's kind of that whole thing like plant a tree today, you know.
Right.
So we're trying to keep things moving so that we'll eventually get to where we need to be, but.
Okay.
Out year is MS4 compliance retrofit projects. That's for next year. Let's make sure that's not even on your page 75. But capital sidewalk and transit amenity program is a continuation of more or less I don't want to call it a sinking fund because we generally do spend the entirety each fiscal year on capital sidewalk projects and replacements. So it's not as much of, tripping hazards that are identified and replacing, 5, 6 squares here and there. That's more DPW's deal.
Right.
So, and they do have funding within their capital for that. So this is more for those larger projects. And we do leverage a lot of these funds with, we have the connectivity grant, steep grant for sidewalks that we'll use this funding to kind of leverage some of those grant dollars too. So.
Don, while we're on sidewalks, what are you thinking of for sidewalks or pedestrian enhancement areas, I think they're calling it now?
So what we try to do is plan with DPW on when they're going to be paving a road, because that's the time to really get the sidewalks done ahead of paving to make sure we're not having to cut anything in. A lot of times it involves curbing that's up against the sidewalk and things like that. So we anticipate chasing some of, well, getting ahead of DPW, not chasing them, but for a lot of these roadways that they're looking at paving in the future, there's big dollar amounts associated with the roads that they're looking at within the next few years, so this will be eaten up pretty quickly. And that's really deteriorated sidewalks along an entire block, and with that comes, you have to feather in some driveways, and there's a little bit more to it than just straight concrete work to kind of make the whole project, so.
Okay. And then you have the LTA.
Yep, LTA, again, is it's a continuation of the Local Traffic Authority project program. As projects or requests are approved through the Local Traffic Authority, there's no place where funding lives outside of this fund. So, say a crosswalk is approved through the LTA or signage, we would use this funding to install those improvements.
LTA is under the police?
It's currently, yep, the Police Commission is the Local Traffic Authority.
LTA.
Yep.
Questions on capital? No. Questions from the RTM members or members of the public on the capital requests? Okay, John, thank you.
Thank you all.
Next is animal control. Details on page 67 and 68. Hi, Laura, welcome.
Hi, how are you? So I'm going to apologize because I have a migraine and my brain hates me right now. So I have no notes with me or anything. I left everything at the animal shelter. So if you have questions, I'll email you after.
So you're not going to tell me about the dog licenses?
So Lisa's not here and I don't think he knows.
That's all right. I'm going to give you a pass.
The largest increase of this budget is so when the budget was brought to me, it was a nominal increase at best, and then it was actually a decrease in her budget, and then as I've stated last night, and I'll state again, it was my request to her that we increase salaries of part-time people from $17.50 or $18 an hour to $20 an hour. So if you notice in the part-time, seasonal and part-time help, there's a large increase, and that is based on my request for that thing. So that's why I'm sitting here. So if you want to yell at somebody.
Does that add positions or it just bumps up?
Just bumps up what exists.
Okay.
And there is a small part of that too, that years ago when COVID happened, money was taken out of my seasonal line item because we weren't doing animal camp. And so those counselors the money that was there was removed. And I asked it to be reinstated because we've been doing animal camp.
Right. Okay, so the total request for expenditures is $588,379, an increase of $79,119. And the revenue side of it is from taxation, there's $450,379, an increase of $48,000. So of the $588,379, the $450,000 would be as a transfer in, and that's what's represented on page 38. Are there questions from the board on this budget? Questions from RTM members? Frank, too?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question about operating transfer in. Is that from the animal shelter fund, or is that from tax revenue, sir?
That's from tax revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, since I brought up the question of the animal shelter fund, how much is in there at this time, please?
Do you happen to know, Catherine? Because I can get you the answer, Frank. I don't have it off the top
If we
of my
don't
head.
have it, we'll get back to you, Frank.
Okay, sir.
Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're going to give Laura a pass tonight. She's not feeling 100%. Warden fees, I see, are up by $31,000. That's great.
Yeah, so we increased adoptions. We haven't increased adoptions
Yeah.
rates since I started, so we doubled that. So now it's $300 to adopt
Okay.
instead of $150.
Right, and you go through a vetting process, et cetera.
We do, yeah.
Other questions for animal control? You don't have any capital, do you? No. Okay. All right. Well, you were good, I think. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Next up is municipal buildings. Welcome, Brian.
Hello, good evening.
Page 27.
Okay, my wages went up 1.1% due to contractual increases. I had a slight increase in my clothing allowance, up $4,000. My fuel oil, I went up $1,000. And my repairs and maintenance account went up 13%.
Okay, so the total request is $1,374,374. Increase is $60,245. And your largest increase there is the purchase services, repairs, and maintenance.
Yes, sir.
$1,000. You want to touch on that just a little bit?
Well, that's my main account.
Yeah.
That's how I repair the 21 buildings I take care of.
21, wow.
Yes.
Okay. What's your biggest challenge with those buildings?
HVAC issues at times. My mission is to get all the exteriors done. This is my 7th year here now.
Yep.
And a lot of the buildings, the roofs have been replaced 20 years ago, and now they're starting to show their age.
Okay. Okay, so at some point, we'll be looking at some capital expenditures for roofs?
Yes.
Okay, you'll talk to Josh and whoever on that, the town engineer and building inspector?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, questions from Brian on the operating for municipal buildings?
All right, you budgeted just $1,000 increase for fuel. What are we thinking about that, given the current environment?
It probably was not going to be enough because I'm going to be going for a transfer. I actually got nervous just before the big 20-inch snowstorm, and I had this building in the firehouse filled up, and that was well over $4,000, which really blew my budget out of the water. But that doesn't happen every single year. So we'll see. If I didn't have that occurrence happen to me, I think the $20,000, $21,000 would have been fine.
Okay, maybe Catherine, you'll look at the potential rates for oil, fuel oil, and diesel fuel and such across the departments who may be impacted based on global.
Well, the last fuel delivery, it was almost $4.60 a gallon.
Right. And that's at the municipal with no tax on it.
Right.
Yeah. Good question, Deborah. Other questions from the board on this? Josh, you good? Okay. Questions from RTM members, board of members of the public? All right, Brian, thanks a lot.
Thank you. I do have some capital.
Oh, you do?
Capital.
Yes.
Okay.
Page 49 through 52.
Yikes, 49 through 52, let's see. Okay, HVAC.
The first one should be the Academy windows on page 49.
I'm seeing HVAC, but
Academy windows are on 52.
52, yeah, maybe it's backwards, but.
Okay.
But
It was in the new file I sent you, Brian.
Academy, we see that, that's a request for $30,000?
Yes, that is for the replacement of the first floor windows around the entire building.
Can you remind me the vintage of that building? 18 what? Is that 17?
1820,
1820?
I believe so.
That's what I thought, something back there.
Yes, those windows are in dire need. They're double hung windows, wood construction. The wood is just, we're just piecing it together right now.
I think that was renovated maybe 30 years ago or something.
I was going to say close to 20, 25 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Brian, would those windows be replaced with the same historical
Yes, that's the mission.
confidence?
Yes.
That's why they need replacement every...
And if it does get approved, I'm hoping to get input from Josh and other members. I'm not going to pick out the windows. I'll have someone decide this is the style they want. The expense would be even more if we went with a double pane window. That's not the characteristics of an old building, so it's all going to be single glazed windows, probably wood frames, and just brand new ones. What's next? Because my pages are...
Go ahead, pick one.
Elevator, town hall elevator upgrades.
Got it, 35,000.
Yes. The elevator has, I think, was installed back in 20 years ago. Otis Elevator is telling me that the parts are becoming very hard to get. Before long, we're not going to be having any parts to repair, to replace. So that's what the elevator upgrade. And then you'll see that was for $25,000. A total of $35,000 is because they're requesting that the hydraulic fluid get changed, which hasn't been done since I've been here, and I don't know when it was done, but that's a $10,000 number as well. That's what the total of $35,000 is.
Okay. Thank you on that one.
The next is the townwide exterior painting, interior and exterior painting. This part of my so-called capital plan in my head is to get every single town building painted by the time I leave. And this will definitely help me because I've gotten quite a few buildings done so far.
This is your own forces, or you hire this out?
I hire it out.
Okay. It's not a whole lot of money.
No.
No. I'm going small.
Okay.
And lastly is $25,000 for this coming fiscal year and $25,000 for 2028, a total of $50,000 for replacing aging HVAC equipment. Components, motors, things constantly break on these older units, and taking it out of my repairs and maintenance account just doesn't work.
You have regular maintenance on these?
Oh, yes, quarterly maintenance on all the equipment.
You contract that out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions on the capital requests for general government buildings? Questions from RTM members of the audience on this budget? I think you're all set, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Next up is solid waste management and recycling, page 41.
Hi, everyone. Tyler Baum, Sustainability and Compliance Manager. So to hit the main highlights, we're seeing our largest increase is in refuse and recycling collection. Those are our contracts for the movement, for the pickup of a lot of different material. The next highest would then be the condo association rebate. That essentially just follows in suit with the curbside collection, which is part of the refuse and recycling collection. Then we have a somewhat modest increase for the material handling. We've actually seen a decrease in material that we're seeing for recycling and solid waste, but we're seeing an increase in cost per haul and per tonnage. So that's why we do see a small increase, albeit an increase. And then landfill operations is going up $1,300. That's to test the landfill, I believe, for 30 years after closure. So we have a decent amount of time left on that. That just goes up a little bit each year, essentially, which we contract out. And the same for state fees and testing. That's for stormwater increases.
Okay, Tyler, so there's a request here for $5,266,503, increase of $87,835. And questions from the board on this?
Tyler, how, are we seeing that we have to replace any of those new barrels? I remember
Yeah.
about this when we first did that.
Yeah, that's actually
How is that
part of.
working? Are we
Yeah, that's part of the capital. We created a sinking fund when we first started this project because the thought was that we call them carts, that the carts were going to break down in estimated 7 years or so. Personally, I don't see that being true for 7 years. I mean, the smaller bins that we've all had, some people probably have had the smaller bins for 20-plus years around. So we're seeing them not deteriorate as quickly as we thought. Part of that was also the thought that, it's a new system. The truck comes by, picks it up, puts it down. That's going to have wear and tear on the carts themselves. But to your point, we're not seeing a deterioration as quickly. And when we look at the capital budget, that's why we actually lowered the capital budget for that.
Okay, thanks, Deborah. Questions on the operating budget on the board? Any other questions on the operating budget? Questions from RTM members on the operating budget? John?
Thank you. Just back to material handling for a moment.
Sure.
Last year it was 1.7 billion, and we're looking for 2.1. That's significant. I don't quite understand that increase.
The current year is 2.1, and we're looking for, the current year is 2.109, and we're looking for 2.121.
Right, but what we spent last year was 1.7.
Yeah, we actually moved, so we were reworking this budget in that budget year, and we actually moved things into refuse and recycling for 24-25, and then we moved it back to material handling. That's why you see that large jump from 1.7.
That makes it clear. Thank you.
No problem.
And you bid out these multi-year contracts based for the hauling and for the pickup?
Correct, and we have 2 years left. We're going into our first year of the extension years.
Gotcha. Okay. Other questions on the operating piece of it? Fine, we'll move to capital.
Yeah, it's page 85 and 86. So on 85, we have the sinking fund that we mentioned. Last year, we brought it down to $100,000. Originally, it was budgeted at $225,000 every year. As I mentioned, we're seeing not as quickly of a deterioration on the carts, but this sinking fund also covers equipment needs at the transfer station, so we didn't want to reduce it completely. We felt that that's going to be important as time goes on as well. So we wanted to make sure that we have enough money to replace a portion of the carts and have a decent amount of money in this fund for any equipment needs at the transfer station. So the thought was to move it up $25,000 this year, and then plan to move it up $25,000 each year until we reach back up into the $225,000.
What's the balance in the sinking fund right now?
I'm not sure, actually. Catherine, do you know the balance? I apologize.
It's all right.
I think it's around maybe 400 something.
Of course, it wasn't one of the stuff I wrote down.
Sorry, Kathy, you can get back to us if you like.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
better. I'm
Thank you.
sorry, I didn't write this one down.
Couple $100,000.
Yeah.
Okay, you can get back to us. Other requests, is that, what else you have?
Yeah, so that's the sinking fund. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then we'll do the next one. So the next one is $90,000 for a geothermal network feasibility study. This is actually not solid waste and recycling. This is more of the sustainability side of my position.
So this came through from the Clean Energy Ad Hoc Committee. They came to me and requested this, and then because it's part of Tyler's job description, that's why it's in his budget. But this is, the idea behind this is they would like to do a feasibility study on a network geothermal well for energy that would not just deal with one building, but a network of buildings through town. So right now, I think we're going to focus based on the nature of our buildings and some of them being new. The thought is to focus on the town hall, and then, believe it or not, you can actually pass energy through the sewer system. So all of that is kind of involved in this study. But we would focus on the center of town with town hall. Perhaps some of the churches, we're in discussion with those buildings as well. So that's where this comes from.
Okay. Questions on the capital? This is your other, those are your two capital
Yep,
requests.
those are the two capital.
Would you be able to address the capital that is under the treasurer's budget, which I forgot to present last night, for the EV charging stations? There's a $35,000 request. Is there?
Sure.
I didn't mean to hit you up at the last
No,
minute.
no
I
worries.
apologize.
So every year we try to do EV chargers in town. We just recently did 2 EV chargers. Off the top of my head, I believe one was around $24,000. We do get some incentives for these, and the other one, which is behind Pasta Cozy on that side, with the incentives and tax rebates, once we get them back, there's a process we have to go through to get them back. That charger could be about $1,500. So we felt that was a huge win for us. We were able to essentially get a 2-for-1 almost. So that $35,000 could very easily cover one charger, but in the best case scenario, it could cover 2 to 3. When I first put in the first 3, I believe at the time, they were a little less expensive, so they would have been covered by that $35,000. But now we're seeing around 1 for sure, and 2 could most likely fit into that $35,000.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Questions on the capital requests from this budget? No takers, and you're all set?
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. Next up is fire protection, page 35 and 36. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening. We'll start with personnel and the operating budget, and just go through the highlights of those changes, if that's all right.
That's fine, Chief.
So regular wages and salaries, we see a decrease primarily due to the retirements and various steps that the newer employees have, so they start at a lower rate. We also have in the medic shift part-time, that's the part-time ambulance that runs 7 days a week from in 2 shifts, 8 a.m. to 4 and 4 to midnight. They were authorized a raise this year through the First Selectmen's part-time and seasonal employees, so that's where that increase comes from there. There is a new request this year that is the mechanic part-time line. It's a new request. It's funded for the 19.5 hours a week. However, that money we're already paying in-house people to do. all the in-house people we had that were skilled to be able to provide that service to us. Saves us a heck of a lot of money. Not only that, but it also keeps the units on the road much, if we send it to, for instance, a local Ford dealer for an ambulance, it takes a lot longer to get that turned around. So we're already paying for that money out of the overtime account, and we just moved that money out of the overtime account into this line. So the line is new, but the money is not, if that makes sense.
Okay.
The next change would be in the vacation. Again, that's based on the retirements of 2 longer tenured employees, so we see a reduction there. Also the same in the longevity, we see a reduction there. And then a small reduction in accrued payroll this year, as well as if we go to stipends, we see an increase of $10,000. That's the contractual stipend that you earn for being holding a paramedic certification. So we have several employees who have earned that certification and now provide that service to the town. So they're owed through the contract that monies. So that is personnel services. Does anybody have any questions before I move down?
Questions on this personnel side? I think we're good for now.
Okay. In the clothing allowance, I did see a increase this year. I had decreased that in previous years' budgets. I'm requesting to increase it again this year for the purchase of the part-time units. Most of that is contractual through, they get an $800 uniform allowance per employee. The part-timers, we purchase them on an as-needed basis. And, this year was a pretty good example of they probably need some cold weather gear. So,
yeah.
So that's what that increase is. I'd just like to touch, well, it's not, I didn't increase it, the purchase services, repairs, and maintenance line. We have seen a pretty, I've gotten hammered this year in apparatus repairs. Most of this has had to be outsourced because of the mechanic situation. We've addressed a lot of it up front. I do not feel I'll be coming back to you. I'm going to have to make a transfer, but I believe it will be interbudgetary transfer, so I don't believe I'll need to come to contingency. But I chose not to increase that this year because we are addressing a lot of these things, and we do have the new apparatus that, while it's been delivered in the state, it isn't in service yet, but we expect that to go in service. And as you know, we have several others on order. So at this point, I just want to keep that flat. And I think we should be good. The only other increases in the budget are small increases in the supply accounts, medical supplies, and other supplies, which is all of our various products that we use to keep everything running. Remember, we have 5 buildings and 40 apparatus and many other things. Reduction in
communications, Chief?
The reduction in communications, if you recall, I came to you earlier in the year for a budget transfer, and I transferred out of that line because we have reduced the amount of modems necessary to operate. They're just not necessary for us anymore. So we were able to actually, and we renegotiated with FirstNet. So between reduced phone lines, reduced modems, and the new service model that we went into with AT&T, we were able to reduce that budget.
Okay, nice.
The only other increase is the hydrants and mains. I think I skipped over that just the way these are on the budget here.
3%, $48,000 increase.
Yes, here it is. So a 3% increase in hydrants and mains. So it's a $28,572 increase. If it wasn't for that, we'd actually have presented a negative operating budget this year. And in reference to my email earlier this month when I sent the budget along with the budget book, that the budget book describes how we use each one of these accounts. So if you have any questions along those lines, I'd be happy to answer them. But the main focuses for us was we are requesting a market adjustment for my assistant chief. I think it's well deserved. It was supported by the Board of Fire Commissioners many months ago, but we were asked number one, to wait until the supervisor's contract was settled before we brought that forward, and also, you know, it was kind of out of the budget year, so we're presenting that to, with this budget, along with that part-time mechanic position, and
that detail is on page 83 and 84 of the salary detail. Okay, Chief, thanks. So the request is for $9,561,632 in operating expenditures. And questions from the board on this budget?
Chief, how comfortable are you with your current staffing?
The current staffing right now, I would anticipate maybe adding another part-time ambulance shift to cover the busy hours. Like, if we look at our data right now when we're getting hammered and we're outsourcing to other towns essentially through the mutual aid process, I think that adding a shift that would cover like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. along those lines would be appropriate. I think the way remember, the overtime account in my budget is overtime/extra work, and that covers those sorts of things. And we had to increase that to just for that reason. So I think this year was not the year to do that. We've had a significant amount of injuries, quite a few people who have been through the retirements, creates a lot of extra overtime, that kind of thing. But I think that would be like an interim thing. As you know, we hope to do the East Side Station at some point, and that would require additional staffing for that. But we're trying to be cognizant, as I said in my email, of all of the support we've gotten in recent years, that working with the first selectman to find maybe a different approach for that East Side Station. But we know that when that happens, that we would need to come before this board to ask for additional staffing, which, to put 2 people on a unit, we need 8 to cover the 4 shifts, 24 hours a day. So that's 8 additional personnel, which would, is a fairly significant request. So.
Okay, other questions on that? You want to hit on revenue side, on the operating?
Sure.
What supports the
operating side? Ambulance revenue, last year we brought in about, I think it was 2.5 and change. This year we anticipate making at least that much money. Again, the less we have to go outside for mutual aid, the more we will capture our own transport revenue. We can only bill for transports. So that is, I do expect it to stay strong. On the, what Catherine and I talked about on the revenue side of the budget is we went from showing it on the revenue side as, I think, $2,015,000 this year. I think we've increased it to $2,100,000, and we always exceed that number, or we hope to exceed that number. But because we didn't tax for it, right? We're using that on the revenue side. We're more conservative with that, but it is, we've had several years where we've made, almost $2.5 million that we feel that increasing that will be safe, and the rest ends up going to fund balance.
Thanks, Chief. Questions on the operating? Any other additional questions on the operating side from the board? Questions from RTM members of the public on the operating for fire? Okay, we'll move on to capital.
Okay, so this capital requests for the fire department this year are, again, less than our request last year. If you remember, we did the $5.8 million apparatus bond authorization, and that plan was in that the budget book that I sent you via email. Jim had created that plan before his retirement, and we appreciate his work on that as well as the board's support for that. But the bond, the way he had set it up is this year's apparatus request would be $400,000. That would cover the bond payment, as I understand it, and then a portion would go into the sinking fund. So that's the $400,000 for fire apparatus. And then on the ambulance sinking funds, I'm requesting $125,000 this year. Well, we don't anticipate replacing an ambulance until 2028. We are requesting $50,000 in the radio sinking fund this year. That's $20,000 less than last year. This fund replaces portable radios, mobile radios, and then sinks a portion for repeaters and receivers, which are in the outlying, the actual part of the radio that receives it and sends it to dispatch and that kind of thing. So typically we replace one cardiac monitor defibrillator in the budget. This year is the year that instead of doing a LifePak, the full LifePak 15, which is a single unit that the paramedics use that does all the EKGs and various other monitors, we're going to replace all our AEDs, which are the automated external defibrillators. Those are carried by all of the basic responders, so every fire truck has a AED on it. So they are aged out this year. And we're requesting $41,000 in that account to replace those. And then this is the final, lastly, this is the final year of the SCBA sinking fund budgeted at that larger number of $125,000 this year, and we hope to make that purchase after the budget's approved.
Got it. Okay, so the total capital requests items total up to $741,000. Are there questions on these capital items from the board? Questions?
Is the new ladder truck in operation?
It is on order right now, but the new pumper should be here. It's at Fire Medic, and it's targeted to be here on Monday, hopefully. I've been a little bit...
It's exciting.
Well, I've kind of been upset with the length of time that it's taken to get here, but, it is what it is, and we can't really... We don't have a lot of leverage,
Took 3 years to build a fire truck.
Took 3 years to build a fire truck, and then once it gets here, it's at they go through it at the local dealer, make sure everything's correct with it, and then they're doing some mounting of tools and equipment, and that's kind of where the bottleneck is right now. But it should be here next week, which is the good news. So,
where do they manufacture them?
This particular model fire apparatus is manufactured by Pierce Manufacturing out of Wisconsin, Appleton, Wisconsin. And then the local dealer is in Rocky Hill.
And this will adequately reach all of the new structures going in with the apartments?
Well, this is a basic pumper. The current ladder truck does do that, and then its replacement, which we ordered as part of that bond packing, but again, it's about 18 months out from time of signing of the contract. So
Next year.
Yeah.
2027.
You got good extension ladders.
We have a few.
Okay, Chief.
It'll be 40 years from when we ordered the other one. Same exact truck, to be exact.
The only other thing I'd like to mention two things. Number one, I meant to mention it in the beginning of my presentation, but fully support the request for the public safety social worker. It's been a phenomenal addition to the town of Branford. That individual employee does a fantastic job, and not only does she support the police department and the fire department, but with the public when we're dealing with people who need that type of service, but internally as well. I mean, she's been a big resource. These guys see some pretty tough things sometimes, and just having someone to sound off to and talk to, and she's been there for everybody. So I just wanted to mention that before I go. And then lastly, as I said, we're not requesting anything to do with the station out east, but I just wanted to remind everybody that that's definitely still on our agenda, and we hope that you keep that in mind for the future as we move forward. But we are working with Selectman Brooks to find some innovative ways to make that happen that we hope to come back in the future, talk about.
Where would that be, roughly?
In the exit 56 area.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and we had talked about it being on the Freightliner property.
Yep.
So that's where we are.
Okay, thank you.
All right, appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Any questions for the capital, for the,
We have emergency.
Oh, I'm the emergency management.
We'll wait here with
Hold on.
okay, so we'll do emergency management.
It's going to be a tough one.
Fine.
Well, we have a zero
And you're
increase
on-
for emergency management this year.
Emergency management is on page 34.
So essentially, the budget consists of stipends for the emergency management director and the assistant emergency management director, and then purchase services are the software products that we use to, and some other minor. This is primarily funded out of the Emergency Management Performance Grant, which comes through the federal government to the state, and then the state to the local municipalities, and it's based on population. So we get roughly 28,000 and change out of that, and then it's a 50-50 match, so we have to spend 50 to get the 50. Of course, you don't have to spend it all,
Yeah.
but that's the allotment.
So the request is for $30,500. Questions from the board on this? Questions from RTM members of the public? You're all set.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you again.
folks. Take care. Next up is police services, page 31 and 32. Chief, Commissioner, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. All right, right into the operating budget. As far as regular wages and salaries, you'll see a significant increase there. What is driving that is the request for 2 additional officers, as well as the contract-driven wage increases pursuant to that collective bargaining agreement. As far as those 2 positions, last year we were able to get 2. You approved that, and through the town and the other processes, we were able to onboard 2 additional sworn police officers. This is 2 more. This is part of what I would term an incremental growth strategy in light of looking at some of the demands that we're facing. We looked at that last year, the year before, if you remember that document that is on our website. We are seeing, again, a change in the calls and duration and complexity of the calls. Much like our other counterparts in public service, when you do increase population and you do increase population density in some of the housing units, and specifically here in Branford, we have a tremendous amount of apartments, that is going to drive our call volume, and we have some numbers on that. We are very lean. I've said it many times before, we focused on core services, meaning the officers, the men and women that wear the uniform, that are out there every day, 24 hours a day. We've upped our deployment numbers on how many officers we have on the road. You may recall that from last year in discussions. With that said, in trying to make the deployment strategy or the deployment numbers where we think we need, where we know we need to get them, that is not allowing for any additional growth in the department. And what I mean by that is in our investigative division, our detectives, they are at bare bones. This is a very busy part of our department. When you see those cases, there is changes in our laws and our procedures where they're doing more search warrant, more court. So they're even getting bogged down and slowed down. So they are at what I think operational level, but I'd like to get another officer assigned there to rotate through. I also like to bring back a traffic unit where we could have officers away from the CAD screen, meaning that they're not taking normal calls for service, that they are specifically targeting quality of life issues. One of the biggest issues we have is speeding. So this is an additional 2. So if this would go through, that's good news, right? But then when we go into this fiscal year, I am losing one in October to retirement, and I will be losing 3 as we go into the early part of 2027. So that'll put us 4 down. We average 1 on maternity or 1 on leave officer pretty much all the time. We have 1 officer on long-term injury as a result of a physical altercation with a suspect. His return date is in months, if at all. So we're always a little behind. So when we look at our staffing on paper, we're full. We are not seeing the numbers that we would like to see in the realm of certified officers that we can attract and take. That pool is just drying up. Our collective bargaining agreement is good. It was fair. Since we signed that, other municipalities have exceeded us already. So there is a really, really competitive environment for very few candidates. So that's a struggle. I will end it with our public safety social worker, Danielle Sarasi. I wish I had the opportunity to address you earlier about this, but she is fantastic. That pay, I thank you. Thanks, Peter, for bringing that forward. We cannot afford to lose her. Raising that pay is still not where it is or where she could command in other places. What sets her apart is she is at crime scenes with us. She is at traumatic events with us, interacting with those victims and those families. And I will tell you, she's worth every penny. And I'll make a bold statement. We can't afford to lose her. We really can't. So I will give up whatever I need to give up in our budget to keep her. She's very loyal. She's an integral part of our community. And there's people in this community that she's making a huge impact, and never mind the wellness of our officers. So with that said, I can move on from salaries unless someone has any questions.
Why don't you move on to the non-personnel side?
Fair enough. The biggest you'll see down, we get into non-personnel, contractual education reimbursements, that's driven by the contract. That's officers that are pursuing their advanced degrees. That line you may see will stay pretty stable, I'm predicting, with a youthful workforce that we have. And it seems purchase services, maintenance, and repair has been talked about ad nauseum tonight about all the accounts, but this is a significant increase for us, $66,415. What this encompasses is majority of it, we estimated about $40,000 for cleaning services for the police department, for the new police department. In discussions with GGB and the First Selectman's office and my staff, we felt that we wanted to bring on a new start when we went into the building. Although we did not really necessarily increase the square footage, the type of materials, the quality, the building, we wanted to kind of look at that. And in discussions with GGB and Brian Droney, we felt that his current staff would be better utilized in other buildings throughout the town, and we would branch off and go out to bid for a custodian cleaning contract. Prior to this submission, the bid was hitting the streets and/or was being prepared. It did come back. It was a little bit higher than the 40 plus that we estimated, but it came in at about 49, so I'm comfortable. I think I can make that. The other driver into that 66 is our license plate readers. We have those at a handful of locations throughout town, West Main, East Main, exit 53, 56 at Leeds Island, and North Main and Cedar, where we have not had them installed yet because there's some issues there that the vendor's trying to work through. With those cameras comes an annual licensing fee. We did front-end it when we did the project. I believe it was under ARPA money, and we're going to run out of that front-ended license agreements in this fiscal year. So that's the remainder of that increase. Marine maintenance is up 10,000. That line was way underfunded, but we were doing a lot in-house, like similar to the fire side. However, with the new boat that is coming, compliments of that ARPA money, it is here. It'll be put in the water fairly soon, but we don't want to void it or compromise any of the warranties on that boat, so we're going to have to find certified directed services that would keep us in compliance with the warranties, and that 10 is an estimate that we think we're comfortable with. The radio communication system, that again, that is our public safety radio or our towers, all the computers that run it. This trends at like 6% every year. They have not given me this coming fiscal year numbers, but we always negotiate and go back and forth. It always seems to fall in that 6%, and also that encompasses our tower lease. We do lease a tower for some of our repeater system up on Brushy Plains Road, and that has an annual increase of 3% built into that contract. So that's where you're seeing that increase. A bigger one on meal supplies. We have to feed our prisoners, and $300 increase. We overexpended that line this year. Arrests are kind of up, but the frequency of when we're housing them, that all drives that. Lastly, membership conference and meetings, again, up from last year. It'll continue to grow, in my opinion. This is the 1,500 is our part of our South Central SWAT, traffic, all our regional efforts that we've actually expanded. Wallingford now is part of it. And in the Chiefs meeting, we are setting aside money through an account that's held by the town of North Haven for future capital purchases. As you can imagine, the traffic investigative team is very expensive with their technology, and the SWAT team is very expensive as far as equipment needs. So we're trying to offset some of that. A lot of us would like to see it a lot higher. We see the benefits of it, but, again, a slow approach of gradual increases there, but very successful programs. And that's all I have on the operating.
Thanks, Chief. So the request is for $8,924,515, an increase of $514,512. Questions on either the operating or on the operating side of the police?
Just one. So to find an officer in tough times, first you have to find them, then you have to train them, correct? What is that process like? Does it take a couple of years? Does it take a year? Well, I guess my point I'm asking because you're down about 4 right now. Is that what you said? Whether it be disability or retirements.
So it's a great question, and it's a struggle. It takes about a year. We move through the vetting process very quickly. We have to find academy seats for them, or when those classes are running. By the time they go through the training, they get out and they go on field training, we're talking about a year. So we're always a year. For a certified officer that we're able to attract from another agency that meets our standards, we're talking anywhere from 15 weeks is comfortable, so we can onboard them, get them familiar with our procedures and our practices, and they're fully functioning and on the road. So we do budget at the top grade when we do put in for these positions in hopes of getting a certified officer. We have gotten a few in the past couple of years, but we're not seeing it, and a lot of the other departments aren't seeing it. What we are seeing is a shift that the most competitive agencies that are offering the best contracts with the best pensions, with the best schedules, are still pulling certified officers. But,
Are they surrounding towns?
There's a few, yeah.
There's a few.
Yeah, there's a few that have not hired non-certified officers. We like to kind of mix and match a little bit because you have to be careful. If you take in too many, you might affect your culture or your stand. We try to, so, but for the public, we would love inquiries if anyone's interested to, we do have it out on Police One and all the sites right now, so it is about a year.
Well, good luck with it. That's...
Hey, Fran, any other questions on the operating side of the budget? RTM members of the public?
When do you expect to move into your new building? Yes, sir.
I would defer that to the deputy chief and to,
Okay.
he's not here with us tonight because he was at the meeting last night. No, in all seriousness, I'm going to throw out mid-April. We have a few tentative dates, but there's been a few little setbacks. And, one thing we don't want to do is push the schedule and/or accept, ownership or occupy it. We still have to get a temporary certificate of occupancy, elevator issues. There's a few things there. So I haven't seen the fire department try to evict us yet, so we're going to kind of stay put until we're complete and ready to assume the building.
Pretty long. All right, other questions? Comments? All right, Chief, thank you. We'll move on to capital.
Yes. I'm going to go through capital in the order in which it appeared in the budget book. The ballistic vest replacement, that's just our fund there for the 5-year of the ballistic vest for the officers. That's coming up in 2029. That's the normal ask of $10,044. Another one for the 5-year capital, which is, again, tied to the radio system, is we're looking out at FY 2030, that the consoles of basically our dispatch, where they sit and the radio equipment there, they're going to be planned obsolescence, as all these companies do. They give you heads up, so in 2030, they're saying they're no longer going to support it. You can maybe find some parts, but we're at an early stage of about $150,000 per console. One of the ideas is when we get back in the building and get settled and working with the fire department, we want to start taking a look at our radio infrastructure. Branford's historically been cutting edge and on top and providing us with very good radios that work. Like, we're very fortunate. But in the long run, we need to be taking a look at that. So I put that into the 5-year capital just as a heads up that is on the horizon. The drone first responder program. This is something that I really wanted to do last year. I'd really like to do it this year. I think this is where it is going. This is a program where there's a drone mounted on top of our building or a firehouse or a town-owned building that interfaces with our computer-aided dispatch system, that we can prompt it to priority calls, fires, violent domestics, violent crimes, things like that. And it would automatically self-deploy and cuts our response time down by half and provides us real-time information. Several departments are already using this. I think this is a game changer for us. It's something we really need to look at. However, it was sold as an autonomous, but when we really started looking at it, the agencies that are already deploying it, you need a human watching it and deploying it. The computer will send it, and the computer will direct it and get it there, but you need someone manning that station. Our dispatch center doesn't have the capacity to do this, so it comes down to personnel, and right now, we just don't have it. Our dispatchers, just so you know, there is no increase in personnel ask for dispatchers. However, we do have a consultant that is finishing up a review, and we'll have a report ready for us in the next few months of where we stand and what the future needs of the dispatch center. So stay tuned for this, but I think this is going to be something we really need to look at. It's going to be a game changer, or it is a game changer. Speed detection and warning devices is our normal ask of replacing radar units in the police cars, as well as the speed signs you see throughout town. The downside to these speed signs are some of them do have maintenance agreements, and we've added several, many throughout the past couple of years. They're well received by the public, and there's some statistic to show that they are effective, so that's where that money will go to. All right, into the police vehicles. So this year, I'm only asking for 3 police cars. Our normal ask is 5, 4 to 5, but mainly it's been 5. We've been trying to infuse new cars into the unmarked fleet, which we've done. My thought process behind this is we're in a good spot with the fleet. 3 marked vehicles would get us where we need to get by and maintain the proper mileage, and take that money from the 2 that we normally ask for and shift it into our radio line, which you'll see when I get to the end, the last ask. So basically, it's 3 marked vehicles, 2 separate accounts. One's for the actual vehicles, one's for the actual setup. And you'll see that there. So only 3 asks. So that brings me to the last capital request, and that's our portable radio replacement. We traditionally tried to replace a few radios every year, and that was going okay until recently. A lot of the boards in them, the electronics, are starting to go, and then the actual external parts of the radio, the knobs and those parts, were starting to fail. And when you see one fail, you're like, okay, but we've started to see 5, 6, 7 start to fail. I can kind of looking back at some of the previous capital, I think those radios are probably 15 years old. Manufacturers are going to sell them to you for 7 to 10, useful. We get way more out of that. There's radios that are out there in the fields in many departments that are 20 years old. We've just seen a very dramatic rate of failure. So that prompted me to make a request to say, okay, what you have in front of you is a request to outfit just the uniform officers, the frontline officers, and the theory was that the supervisors, the detectives, the admin, we could get by and take the money from the 2 cars, switch it over here. So that's kind of the thought process for the capital request. Truth be told, probably the best way to do it is just hit it straightforward and replace all of them at once. And we did just recently purchase 6, so the total would be 54 that we would need, and that would come in at about, give or take, $250,000. So we're about a 95 off of that, but I'm comfortable with the 35 that are in here. I believe it's 35. 36. But if the town or the board so chooses that they want to find a different funding source or move in a different direction, we'd be willing to do that. Also within there is for new car radios, also 5 new car radios, because those also, so every one of our vehicles have a radio, and they're very expensive. I think we were just quoted about, you're talking about $4,000 a portable, and the cars are in line there too. So this was kind of a need that came out over the past few months or so, and I think going on our normal traditional few a year wouldn't get us there, and the failure rate is concerning. Some of them look really good, they work, but they're just falling apart.
Okay. Questions on the capital requests from the police? Pretty straightforward. Questions? Questions from RTM members of the public on this? Okay, thanks, Chief. And Commissioner will touch on special details, special services on page 33. Request of $525,000. Those are self-funded pick up the same amount on the revenue side. Any issues there, or you've got plenty of coverage?
Yeah.
See also a lot of out-of-town folks, out-of-town officers participate in this as well?
Yeah, part of our mutual aid compacts, we do that when supply and demand shifts.
Sure.
We're able to pivot on that.
Okay, questions on this budget? Questions from RTM members on this budget, members of the public? If not, we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Commissioner. Josh?
Not you.
Oh.
We skipped over some capital that I feel like we should probably present.
On the
IT.
On the IT?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can circle back with that. You folks are all set. Thank you.
Good night.
Mr. Chairman, I have to go.
Okay, sure.
It's good. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you, Fran. We'll see you Thursday.
Night. Thank you.
What page?
So you'll bear with me because I don't know what IT stands for, but the first one on there is the town-wide camera replacement, and
53.
page 53.
Got it.
So this is just to replace a lot of the cameras. Many of them are aging. The request is to split up into 2 years. But, you know, a lot of our buildings have cameras. I mean, I think there's, I couldn't even tell you how many in Town Hall. So this is just to start replacing those. And he has it split up into 2 years. So this would be one of those years.
Go ahead. Do you have a question?
No, it just doesn't, it sounds like this is a request instead of splitting it into 2 years, from what he wrote there.
Is that right?
No, yes, they're saying that, what he's saying is that it could be split up into 2 years, but that it's 1 year of a request of
So
$85,000.
the total request is $85,000. And he's proposing 1 year, but saying it could be split up into 2, because this is actually shown on, I see 26, 27. Okay, got it. And those are cameras on town municipal buildings?
Yes, correct.
For safety and other purposes? Got it.
The next request is the digitization of documents and content manager. And what this is so if you've ever been to Town Hall and gone and up to planning and zoning, you'll see stacks and stacks of boxes, file cabinets that are full of documents that are vital to everyday activities as well as historical activities within the town. So the request is $130,000 this year, and then would be $120,000 next year. And how that works is the software is $13,000. Then the installation of said software and getting the program running is $17,000. Then the $100,000 to actually start scanning, and that's to scan all these documents. And then in the next fiscal year, 2028, it would be $120,000 to finish scanning those documents. So that's the nature of that request.
This is all of town documents, or just P&Z and inland wetlands and engineering? Or is this all?
We believe it's just those departments.
Okay. And this is an outside vendor estimate?
Correct.
Okay.
And then the last request is a copier replacement and printer consolidation. One of the things that Scott has expressed to me is that he feels that moving forward, we could downsize how many printers we have and create sort of central printer copiers for departments that would eliminate some of the cost in maintaining printers, individual printers, but create, hubs for, even multiple departments. So, for example, just to use an example of this, HR and executive, we use the same copier and printer, and for the most part. So it'd be more along those lines where it's not each individual printers on numerous desks, but one centrally located where it's applicable from department to department.
This is just town hall, or this is town-wide?
I believe the bulk of it is town hall,
I think it might even be townwide.
but it might be townwide as well.
Okay.
Although I think that probably happens a lot here already, but that's kind of along those lines.
And we could get a little more detail from Scott on that.
And I
as
will,
to,
yes.
And do we have are these current copiers under lease right now?
No, we purchase.
We own them all?
We own them, yes.
And I didn't read this completely, we're at end of life with these, is that what the deal is? Or he just thinks it's a better way of...
There's many of them that are end of life. What they tend to do is, as they replace copiers, so for example, our copier got replaced maybe 2+ years ago. They gave our copier, which was probably 7, 8 or older, they gave it to another department that had an older copy of that. So they tend to recycle them down.
Right.
But for the most part, they're aging.
Gotcha.
Would it be more cost-effective to lease them?
That's what he's saying here.
Oh, sorry, I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah. The suggestion is leasing them and spreading the cost over.
Is to lease them?
Correct. And now that you say that, I recall the conversation. So he thought that it would be more cost-effective to actually lease them for 4 or 5 years, assuming that you're...
Ones they cycle through.
So this is what that program would be based on.
Yeah, okay, so if we could get more detail on it.
I will, and I apologize.
No, we should have caught that before he escaped.
But I felt like we need to present it to make it official. So we will get you some more information on that as well.
Okay. Yes. You have another one?
I can't believe I forgot the finance capital yesterday. So I asked Tyler to do the EV charging station, as he had more information on that.
Right.
But there are 2 other capitals that we have. So one is the annual contribution to the lease fund.
What page are you on?
I'm sorry, I'm on page 89, because I'm skipping over the EV charging stations, unless you have any other questions about those. And then I'm on 89 and 90 through 91. So there's 2 contributions to lease fund. One is for the DPW, and that is a $187,000 contribution this year. It was increased slightly from last year to account for the possibility of a few. We're not sure how long we're going to be leasing the property at School Ground Road. I don't believe it's going to be that long, but we wanted to account for those. The reason it is not a higher contribution is because Jim came to the board and to the RTM to ask for that supplemental appropriation of $300,000 back in '25.
Right.
So that's why we were able to keep it relatively flat.
Okay.
The next contribution is also $170,000 from the town. $265,000 will be coming in from the board, for a total of $435,000 requested dollars for the Board of Education lease technology.
Could you give us that breakdown again?
Sure. So the total request is for $435,000.
Yeah.
$170,000 of that comes from the town, and then the Board of Ed contributes to the lease fund as well. And that portion for them is $265,000.
I got it. Okay, that's the other is the BOE.
Yeah, that's in the other category, and it's done through their operating budget.
Right, okay. Right, okay.
And then we have Jim's fund.
And that's for the outstanding, those are for the...
Yes, those for the outstanding leases.
Those are the outstanding leases,
Yes.
right, right. And then Jim's
And then we
fund.
have the coastal resiliency fund.
Right.
So this contribution is $240,000, I believe, and I apologize, I should look. I believe it is a small increase. It was reduced last year to $225,000. So it is a small increase. However, we are looking to take I think our first substantial project out of that, of the $750,000 that John is looking in part of his capital request. This was the funding source that he was going to use.
Right. Okay.
But I apologize for not doing it yesterday.
No worries. Questions on the capital, from the board on the capital items that were been presented by Josh and Catherine? All set. Questions from RTM members? Members of the public? Okay, I think we're good for tonight, Catherine, right? And Josh? So I'll entertain a motion to recess until Thursday for the board public hearings.
So moved.
Second. Seconded by Deborah. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.